Giving a gift, planning it, choosing it, watching someone open it, feels completely natural to this specific person. Receiving one produces something considerably more complicated, a real immediate discomfort, an urge to minimize it, deflect it, or immediately think about what to give back in return before the actual moment of receiving has even finished. Carl Jung's understanding of a persona built one-sidedly around giving offers a precise explanation for why this specific imbalance feels so genuinely uncomfortable to correct. Jung believed that a persona, the presentable self a person actively maintains, often develops around a specific, consistent role within relationships, and for many people this role becomes heavily weighted toward giving, providing, and taking care of others, while genuinely receiving remains comparatively underdeveloped and considerably more uncomfortable. This imbalance frequently traces back to a genuine early environment where a person's actual value felt tied specifically to what they could offer or provide, rather than to their simple inherent worth as someone equally deserving of care and generosity in return. This explains why receiving a gift can feel considerably more threatening than the simple, ordinary occasion it should be, since accepting genuine generosity directed toward you specifically requires, at least momentarily, existing in a role your persona has not fully developed comfort with, being the one who is cared for rather than the one doing the caring. The discomfort is not really about the specific gift itself. It is about occupying a position that feels genuinely unfamiliar and, for reasons rooted in an earlier environment, genuinely less safe than the considerably more practiced role of giver. Here is what makes this understanding genuinely useful, rather than simply an explanation for an awkward moment. A persona built this heavily around giving, however genuinely desired by other people, is not actually a fully balanced, whole way of relating to others. Jung's understanding of individuation requires genuine wholeness, and a person who can only comfortably occupy one half of the natural exchange between giving and receiving remains, in this specific area, genuinely one-sided, missing an entire dimension of relationship that receiving done comfortably actually allows. This also explains why deflecting a gift, minimizing it, immediately reciprocating before the original moment has even settled, functions as a genuine protective correction, restoring the more familiar, comfortable role of giver as quickly as possible, rather than allowing the less practiced experience of simply, gracefully receiving to actually continue and be felt. Here is what actually helps in working with this pattern directly. It helps to practice deliberately receiving a gift with a simple, complete thank you, resisting the automatic urge to immediately deflect, minimize, or reciprocate before the moment has actually finished. Since this small, repeated practice gradually builds genuine comfort with a role your persona has simply never had as much practice occupying as the more familiar role of giver. There is a second thing worth understanding directly. It helps to notice honestly what specifically feels uncomfortable about being the one receiving, a sense of owing something in return, a feeling of being seen as needing care, a simple unfamiliarity with the role itself, since naming this specific discomfort transforms a vague automatic deflection into something you can actually examine and gradually soften. There is a third, genuinely important piece worth naming, since it offers real, practical reassurance. Learning to receive more comfortably does not require abandoning your genuine generosity as a giver, which remains a real and valuable quality. It requires simply adding a second, equally genuine capacity alongside it, allowing both giving and receiving to exist naturally in your relationships, rather than remaining permanently weighted toward the single role that has always felt safer and more familiar. If you recognize this specific discomfort around receiving gifts, hear this clearly. This was never simple modesty or genuine pickiness about what you actually like. According to Jung's understanding, it very often reflects a persona built one-sidedly around giving, one that developed for genuinely understandable reasons, and this deserves honest, patient examination rather than continued automatic deflection every time someone tries to offer you something in return. Think honestly about the last gift you received and immediately deflected or minimized, and consider what specifically felt uncomfortable about simply, fully receiving it in that moment, rather than moving quickly to correct the imbalance you felt it had created. Right below the single word for what you suspect makes receiving feel considerably less comfortable than giving does for you. Naming it honestly and practicing a simple, complete thank you the next time someone offers you something genuine is the real and practical way you begin building the second, equally valuable half of an exchange your persona has always found considerably easier to give than to receive. There is a fourth thing worth understanding since it connects this pattern to Jung's broader concept of the golden shadow. The capacity to receive gracefully, to simply be cared for without needing to immediately balance the scale, is not a weakness. It is a genuine strength many givers have quietly disowned, believing it somehow selfish or undeserved, when in reality allowing yourself to be cared for is precisely what completes the relationship this generosity has always been building toward in the first place. There is a final piece worth naming since it offers real, practical hope. As this specific capacity to receive gradually develops through repeated deliberate practice, something genuinely valuable tends to follow. Relationships built entirely around your giving often deepen once genuine, comfortable receiving becomes possible too, since other people are frequently given, for the first time, real permission to actually care for you, the same way you have always cared for them. Because dreading the moment of receiving a gift was never, according to Carl Jung's understanding, simple modesty or genuine indifference to what was actually offered. It was a persona built one-sidedly around giving, and learning to receive as comfortably as you give was always the real, practical path toward the genuine, balanced wholeness that relationship actually requires.